Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today I'm doing a Generaider deck profile. So I'm really excited for this one because this deck is absolutely crazy with the amount of plays that it has, and it summons a lot of big beat sticks. Basically, it is like a boss rush deck where you are playing as the MMORPG boss, which is insanely cool, and I really like the way that they actually built this deck, and I love the artwork of this deck. It's absolutely crazy. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely tell me what you think of this video down in the comments down below. And definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below as well, because we have some awesome rewards for you guys, like getting your name in the description of every single video, getting a signed card sent to me, or even getting requested deck profile every single month you are a patron, just like this one. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Generaider Boss of Storms, which is my favorite one besides Hela, the Generaider Boss of Doom. But what this card basically does is all of your Generaider monsters share the same ability that you can only control one of them. You can't control more than one, because they're all like the one and the only boss, which is really cool. But this card's effect is once per turn, if your opponent adds cards from their deck to their hand, except by their draw phase, then you can make your opponent quick effect send one monster from their hand or field to the graveyard, their choice. And then when a card effect is activated, quick effect, you contribute 2 Generaider and or Spellcasters to monsters, negate the activation if you destroy that card. You can only use each effect of this card once per turn, which is pretty good. It's a really good boss monster, and it's really easy to get this card really big, because a lot of your Generaider monsters, you look at them and it's like, it's just 3,000. It's not, because the shadow of the Generators boosts them all up by 1,000, so when you look at their attack, remember, it's going to be 1,000 more, and then your field spell is also going to give you the materials to tribute for their effects. So that's something that you got to keep in mind when you're playing Generaider. Then we play 2 copies of Hela, Generaider Boss of Doom. Hela, Generaider Boss of Doom makes it so you can only control one of her, and you contribute a Generaider monster or a zombie monster to target Generaider in your graveyard or a zombie in your graveyard with a different name from the attributed monster had on the field, and then special summon that monster in defense position. She's kind of like Zombie Master in a way, except you have to tribute a monster on your side of the field. She's really good at recursion of getting your monsters back out of the graveyard. She is amazingly good at getting cards out. Then we play 1 copy of Mardell, Boss of Light. Boss of Light, or Mardell, is really good because when she is normal or special summon, you get to add a Generaider or a plant card from your deck to your hand, which is really good. I just feel like you need 1 copy of her, but she really helps out to do that. Then we play a single copy of Utgarda, I don't know, or Utgarda. I'm gonna go with Utgarda. But Generaider Boss of Delusions, which is really cool because it's in the OCG, it's called Generaider Boss of Lies. But you can quick effect, you can only control one of it, and then you can quick effect tribute 2 Generaider monsters and or rock monsters to target 1 card on the field and banish it. It's just an instant spot removal, which is really nice about this card. It reminds me of, oh goodness, it's the final place in Kingdom Hearts 3, where it's like morphing and the place is like morphing, which is really cool. Then we play a single copy of Needhog, Generaider Boss of Ice, which is probably one of my favorite ones. This card is really neat to establish to just lock your opponent down. Because what this card does is, when it's on your field, you contribute a Generaider monster or a worm monster to negate the summon of a monster when your opponent special summons a monster, which is really cool, and you destroy that monsters. So if they pendulum summon against you, just tribute a monster on your side of the field, and it's like, hey, no, none of that. Let me play 2 of this card, which is really, really insane. Tiras is really, really crazy because this card was released alongside some of the Generators in Eternity Code. And during the main phase, if this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can quick effect tribute 3 fairy monsters to special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field, and you can only apply the effect of this card in sequence depending on the number of tributed monsters. So if you tributed 2, you can destroy a card on the field, and if you tribute 3, you get to draw 2 cards, which the really cool thing about this card is the Generaider boss stage generates fairy tokens, and so that's why this card is so good and you play it in this deck, because it's basically like Pot of Greed while also getting a monster on your side of the field. We then play 3 copies of Luptar, the Shadow of the Generaider Bosses. This card is, the Shadow of Generaider Bosses is really cool. Shadow is amazing. What this card does is it really made the deck come together. Like, this card is insanely good for the deck. What this card does is all Generaider monsters you control gain 1,000 attack during your opponent's turn only, and then during the main phase you can quick effect tribute 1 Generaider monster to special summon a level 9 Generaider monster with a different name from your deck. So you can tribute the tokens to summon this, because the Generaider tokens count as Generaider monsters because they come out as Generaider tokens. So you tribute the Generaider token, and then you just instantly get any of your Generaider bosses that you want on your side of the field, which is insanely good. Usually you want to summon Horror as quickly as possible with this card. We then play 3 copies of Condemned Witch. Condemned Witch is probably one of the best normal summons in the deck, because when this card is normal summon, you get to add a Forbidden Quick Play spell, which is your Forbidden Chalice. You add Chalice from deck to hand with this card, and then once you add the Chalice from your deck to your hand, you get to, on your opponent's turn, you can tribute this card to special summon a fairy, level 4 fairy, which is your shadow. So what you normally want to do, you can do it on your turn, but you're always going to want to do it on your opponent's turn. Because what you do is you normal summon this out, add your copy of Chalice, set the Chalice, then during your opponent's turn, tribute this, and then summon the shadow, and then your copy of your boss stage will trigger and then give you the tokens, because once per turn, if a card is added from your opponent's main deck to their hand, then you can special summon a Generaider monster from your deck. And if you special summon a Generaider monster during your opponent's turn, then you can special summon as many Generaider tokens on your side of the field as possible with the field spell. So if you special summon a Generaider monster during your opponent's turn, you instantly get to go off. So that's why Condemned Witch is so good in this deck. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom as well. The 3 Ash Blossoms just are extra negation to stop your opponent from doing stuff. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Terraforming, because you need to get to your field spell as quickly as possible, because the deck doesn't function without the field spell. We then play 3 copies of Generaider Boss Quest, which we have plenty of targets to search off this card. You have Boss Stage, you have Boss Room, you have Boss Fight. You have plenty of cards to summon or to search off of this card. And it's just a really good card. You get to reveal a Generaider in your hand, and then if you do, you get to add 2 Generaider spells or traps with different names from each other from your deck to your hand, which is pretty cool. I like that effect, but then you place the revealed card on the bottom of the deck. So it's not that big of a deal to just reveal a monster that's kind of bricked in your hand and then put it on the bottom of the deck and then special summon it later. We then play 3 copies of the Boss Stage. Boss Stage is literally the best card in the deck. What it does is, we already kind of went over it, but once per turn, if a card is added from your opponent's main deck to their hand, except by drawing them, then you can special summon a Generaider monster from your deck, or even if they draw them. You get to special summon a Generaider monster from your deck in defense position. And then if you special summon a Generaider monster during your opponent's turn, then you can special summon as many Generaider fairy tokens that are 1500 as possible in attack position, but destroy them during the end phase. So you basically get to use your card effects during your opponent's turn. You play during your opponent's turn, essentially, with this deck, which is kind of neat and kind of weird all at once, but it works. But it's really, really, really good to be able to do that and just be able to put those cards on your opponent's side of the field, or put those on your side of the field. Then we play 3 copies of World Legacy Monstrosity. This card is staple in this deck because it lets you special summon a level 9 monster in your hand, or you get to target a level 9 monster you control and then special summon 2 level 9 monsters, each with different types from your deck, which is insanely good. So you essentially get 3 level 9s on your side of the field. This is an instant True King of all Calamities or Jormungandr, whichever one you feel like you need. 2 copies of Forbidden Chalice. You just search this card off of your copy of Condemned Witch. 3 copies of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good in this deck because it stops your opponent from doing all sorts of stuff. We play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. The Pot of Extravagance is extremely pivotal in this deck because it's really important that you're able to draw in this deck. And at the start of your main phase 1, you activate this card and then banish 3 to 6, which you're always going to banish 6 from your X deck, and then you draw 2 cards from your deck, but you can't draw for the rest of the turn. But we don't play anything else to draw in the deck, so it's totally fine. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing a single copy of Boss Room and 3 copies of Boss Fight. Boss Fight essentially searches the field spell, which is really cool because it lets you activate a Generaider field spell directly from your deck. And then Boss Room is super neat as well. I play this card at 1 because when your opponent activates a card or effect in response to the activation of your Generaider effect, you can discard a card and your opponent's activated effect becomes each player draws a card. So that's pretty good. It essentially turns it into Dark World. Their opponent's monster's effect is Dark World Dealing, where you both draw and then, well, your opponent doesn't have to discard, but you have to discard, which is fine. I like that effect because it triggers your Generaider monsters on your side of the field, and it also lets you kind of refresh your hand by drawing a card and digging deeper into the deck if you need to. But the really cool thing about Boss Fight is you're essentially playing, or with the field spell, you're playing 3 Boss Fight, 3 of the field spell, 1 terraforming, which is 7, and then 3 boss quests. You're playing like 10 ways to get to it. You're gonna open it every time, and then you're playing Extravagance to draw into the deck. It's so consistent to get the field spell, it's ridiculous. Like, I can get 2 or 3 of the field spells in my hand on the first turn. Like, I'm not gonna go without it. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Jormungandr because it is an Extravagance build. You have to keep in mind that we're playing multiples of a lot of the cards in the extra deck. So 2 copies of Jormungandr, it lets you overlay this card with 2+ level 9 monsters, and it gains attack equal to the number of materials it has. And then quick effect, you can detach a material from this card, and then each player draws a card, and then each player attaches one of their cards in their hand to this card. So if you detach a material from this card, then you basically get 2 more on it, so it gets bigger, which is really cool. You usually overlay this with like 2 or 3. If you summon Monstrosity, then you can detach a material and make this card go to instantly to 4,000, which is pretty good. And being able to attack for 4k is not bad. And each player gets to draw a card, and then it steals a card out of your opponent's hand, which is really nice. We then play 3 copies of True Kings of All Calamity. True Kings of All Calamities is just here to basically be skill drain. It's really good, and it's the best rank 9 in the entire game. 1 copy of Infinitract Earth Slicer. Earth Slicer just lets you pop cards. You can detach any number of cards that is attached to this card, and then target cards on the field and destroy them, which is pretty good. You don't really use any other effects. It just pops cards. That's why you'll play it at 1. 2 copies of Phantom Fortress. This card is nice as well. I feel like this should have been a Mecha Phantom Beast. Like, it's just crazy to me that this is not... I mean, it is a Mecha Phantom Beast, but the way they named it, it's not a Mecha Phantom Beast, which is weird. What this card does is once per turn, you can detach material from this card to activate one of the effects to either banish a card your opponent controls, banish a card from your opponent's hand, banish a card from your opponent's graveyard, or banish a card off your opponent's deck. So you can rip a card out of your opponent's hand, which is super cool, and it's a 2900 beat stick. 2 copies of 9 Lives Cat. This card is really cool and really interesting because what it does is your opponent cannot target monsters you control that were special summoned from the graveyard, which Hela does that really well to special summon them back from the graveyard with card effects. And then you can detach a material from this card and then target a level 9 monster in your graveyard or a monster in your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to your side of the field, which you're usually going to special summon your monsters back to be able to get your generators back on the field, which is super nice. I really, really like that effect. We then play Boral Sword just to help us OTK. Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos, again to help us OTK. It's really easy to summon this card in this deck because you just have to send like a monster that's higher than 7 to summon this card and 2 other monsters, which is not hard in this deck at all. 1 copy of Unicorn, because you can detach a material from this card, or not detach a material, but discard a card and then spin something. Phoenix to pop cards, or pop spells and traps, and then Bujinki of Shimi. This card is really cool because what this card does is essentially it special summons 2 monsters. If this card is link summon, then you can special summon 2 monsters with the same level, 1 from your hand and 1 from your graveyard, but negate their effects, and after this card resolves, you immediately use those 2 monsters to link summon, or to XYZ summon. So you can immediately go for 9 Lives Cat, Phantom Fortress, Earth Slicer, True King, Jormungandr, any of your rank 9s. You just instantly go for a rank 9, which is super cool. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play around with. I highly recommend that you guys give it a shot because this deck is actually insane and really, really fun to play around with. To begin with, when I picked this deck up, I thought it was going to brick like crazy, but then when they released Shadow, and it just fixed the whole deck, like really fixed the deck. And then Condemned Witch is really nice. I see a lot of people playing Girsu in here and then playing like World Armor and World Chalice and stuff, and I'm like, nah, you don't need that. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad. And definitely tell me what you think of this video down in the comments down below. And don't forget to check out that Patreon for all those awesome rewards. And I'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.